Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to Daily's 2A News. Today I want to talk about Governor Cuomo's recent decision to allow people to sue firearms manufacturers if one of their products is used in the commission of a crime and somebody gets injured. There's a lot going on here, some stuff that I think is going on behind the scenes, so let's go over it. Now, before we get started, if you guys are not members of the USCCA, I urge you to do so. They are an excellent organization that will be there to defend you if you find the need to defend yourself. Not only will they be there if you find the need to defend yourself with lawyers and money to bail you out and, pretty much everything that you need. If any civil lawsuits come after, let's say you're found innocent, if any civil liability comes your way afterwards, they will cover that as well. So make sure that you become a member of the USCCA. Get that card in your wallet. If something happens, you call 911. Then you call the USCCA. Okay, so the state of New York and Governor Cuomo recently made it legal for New York residents to sue firearms manufacturers if their product is used in the commission of a crime and somebody gets injured. That injured person can then turn around now and sue the firearms manufacturer for X amount of dollars. Here's the problem. There's already a federal law that prohibits people from suing firearms manufacturers because their product was used in a way that it wasn't intended. So that's there to protect them. Now, the original reason that law even came about was because there's no legal standing for somebody to sue the manufacturer for the acts of somebody as a third party, for instance. Now, a good way to look at this is if I was to sell my car to you and I was to, you were to sign the paperwork over, right? And now you're the legal owner of my car. You take that car and you run it through a bunch of people. Well, now those people are coming to sue me for it, even though I had nothing to do with it. I sold you the car is now your property, and you did something that was illegal with it, but I'm the one that's getting sued. That's kind of like what you're saying. That wouldn't stand in any court. If I was to sell my car to somebody and legally transfer it over to them, and they commit a crime with that car, it's no longer my responsibility. It's not my vehicle anymore. I do not own it anymore. The person who signed the paperwork for it is now the legal owner, and they take all responsibility. So in court, before the federal law even existed, a lot of these manufacturers were being sued already. If you look back in the 70s and the 80s, there was a lot of lawsuits against firearms manufacturers. A majority of those lawsuits did not go through, again, because you can't hold somebody accountable for something that they were not responsible for. So because these lawsuits were just basically bankrupting the manufacturers at that time, they decided that they would make a federal protections law that would keep people from suing them. Instead, it would be the responsibility of whoever committed the crime. Therefore, we have the federal law that's now on the books. So by New York saying that you can start suing people doesn't necessarily mean that all these lawsuits are going to start going through. What Cuomo's trying to do is he's trying to do two things. He's trying to deflect and he's trying to bankrupt, which is basically what was happening before that protection came in on a federal level. So by creating a bunch of lawsuits and having people be allowed to sue these companies now, even though the suit, more than likely would not actually be won by the plaintiff, these companies still have to spend money in court. They still have to spend money on legal team. They still have to spend money on filings. They still have to spend a large chunk of money to defend themselves against essentially a frivolous lawsuit. So that's really what he's trying to do here. He's trying to get these companies to spend so much money that they can no longer do business. He's trying to bankrupt the industry. It has nothing to do with whether or not he cares about people and he thinks people should get restitution for their suffering. It has to do with the fact that he wants to get the manufacturers to spend so much money that they can no longer exist. That's the main goal of it, is again, to bankrupt the industry. Now, in my own opinion, I think that Cuomo's doing this for personal political gain as well. He's deflecting, which is a political tactic that's been used for hundreds of years. So we all know that Cuomo's camp has been kind of on the downfall lately, right? People in his own party don't want to see him be governor. We know that, the things that he did in 2020 have really caught the headlines, and that's been, the main talking point for a long time. Cuomo did this, Cuomo did that, and again, the press has been extremely negative. So what does he do? He does something that's out of the box, that's completely outrageous, something that's completely unconstitutional, that goes against federal law, that he knows will catch the headlines. And maybe that will divert some attention away from what he's been doing to now what's happening here. And it's been happening. People stop talking so much about what's happening with Cuomo on a personal level, and now they're talking about what New York is doing with this new law. So again, it's a way to divert attention from his current political problems and apply that new attention to what he's doing now with this. So again, he wants to bankrupt the industry, and he wants to divert attention away from other issues that are at hand. So again, this is kind of a twofer for him. He's getting what he wants and trying to bankrupt the industry, and he's also getting his own personal diversion. So, again, in the past, these lawsuits have not gone through. And again, because it's the chain of custody issue, right? You no longer own it. It's not yours anymore. You don't take responsibility for it as a manufacturer anymore once somebody takes possession of it and uses it for their own, personal purposes. If that purpose happens to be illegal, then that's on them. These are things that people are doing on their own, and the people that are behind it need to be held accountable, not the people whose chain of custody is several times removed. That one product could have gone from the manufacturer to the distributor to maybe a smaller distributor and then to a shop and then sold to that person, where the chain of custody, as you could see, is several times removed from the actual manufacturer. Then it ends up in the hands of somebody who does something wrong with it. That's why these lawsuits will more than likely not go through, but still cost a ton of money. Now, while some of these bigger places can afford to fight back against this stuff, it's a smaller guy that's not going to be afforded. So you're going to see a lot of the people that don't have that legal fund behind them that are going to be basically wiped out if this is allowed to continue and allowed to go forward. So anyway, I think that it's, again, all about bankrupting and all about diverting current attention. That's what I think Cuomo's got going on here. So I want to thank you all very much for watching. It's just a little bit of food for thought for you. Have a great day.